If your grandma's fried chicken didn't make the whole block smell good, she was doing it wrong. Today, we're counting down all 45 of her most legendary, most guarded, most passed down through generations hacks that make their chicken taste like nothing you've ever had from a restaurant. From the brine to the grease, from the seasoning cabinet to the cast iron skillet, Big Mama's secrets are finally coming out. Number 45. Save your pickle juice. Before you throw away that empty pickle jar, pour that brine into a container and save it. Black grandmas have been soaking their chicken in leftover dill pickle juice for decades because the vinegar and salt work together to break down the muscle fibers in the meat, making it incredibly tender while the dill flavor seeps in just enough to give the finished chicken a subtle, tangy depth without being overpowering. Number 44. Season the flour, not just the chicken. A lot of people season their chicken and then dredge it through plain flour, but Grandma seasons both separately. She adds salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika directly into her flour mixture so that every single layer of the coating has flavor baked into it, meaning you get seasoned taste from the very first bite of crust all the way through to the meat. Number 43. Use evaporated milk in the egg wash. Instead of using plain milk or buttermilk alone in her egg wash, Grandma stirs in a can of evaporated milk. The higher fat and protein content in evaporated milk creates a thicker, stickier coating that grabs onto the seasoned flour much more aggressively, producing a crust that is noticeably thicker, crunchier, and more satisfying than what you get with regular milk. Number 42. Let the dredged chicken rest before frying. After coating her chicken in the seasoned flour, Grandma puts it on a wire rack and lets it sit for at least 15 to 20 minutes before it ever touches the oil. This resting period allows the coating to hydrate and bond to the surface of the chicken, which means it will not fall off in the oil and will fry up into a dense, even crust rather than patchy, flaking pieces. Number 41. Season directly on the meat before any soaking. Before the chicken ever goes into brine or buttermilk, Grandma rubs seasoning directly onto the raw meat with her hands. She works salt and garlic powder into every crevice under the skin where she can reach, and into any cuts or slits she has made because seasoning on bear meat at this early stage penetrates deeper than any marinade ever could on its own. Number 40. Use a brown paper bag for dredging. Grandma does not use a bowl or a plate for her flour. She drops her seasoned flour into a brown paper bag, adds a few pieces of chicken at a time, folds the top shut, and shakes it hard. The paper bag coats every angle of the chicken simultaneously and evenly, reaching under wings and into joints that a flat dish simply cannot, giving you full uniform coverage on every single piece. Number 39. Add cornstarch to the flour mixture. Grandma mixes cornstarch into her seasoned flour at about a 1:4 ratio, meaning 1 part cornstarch to 4 parts flour. The cornstarch lowers the overall protein content of the coating, which results in a lighter, crispier crust because high-protein flours produce chewy coatings, while cornstarch fries up shatteringly crisp the way you want fried chicken to be. Number 38. Score the chicken thighs. On thick pieces like thighs and drumsticks, Grandma takes her knife and makes 2 or 3 deep diagonal cuts right down to the bone before seasoning. These cuts allow the seasoning to penetrate all the way to the center of the meat and also ensure the thickest parts cook through completely without the outside getting overdone while the inside stays raw. Number 37. Use Lori's seasoned salt as a base. In Black households across the country, Lori's seasoned salt is a pantry staple that Grandma reaches for first when she starts building her seasoning blend. She uses it as her salt base rather than plain table salt because it already contains a blend of salt, paprika, turmeric, and other spices that adds a layered warmth to the chicken that plain salt simply cannot replicate on its own. Number 36. Fry and Crisco shortening. While a lot of modern cooks use vegetable oil or canola oil, many Black grandmas still swear by Crisco solid shortening melted down in the cast iron. Shortening has a neutral flavor and a high smoke point, and it creates an old-fashioned, luscious crust with a specific richness that liquid oils do not produce because the partially solid fat fries the chicken differently, building a denser and more flavorful bark on the outside. Number 35. Keep a dedicated seasoning jar. Grandma does not measure individual spices every time she makes chicken. She has a jar, usually a recycled spice jar or even an old mason jar, where she keeps her premixed seasoning blend ready to go. She makes big batches at once, mixing everything together in exact ratios she knows by heart, so every batch of chicken tastes consistent because the blend is always the same. Number 34. Use chicken bouillon powder in the flour. Grandma adds a teaspoon or two of chicken bouillon powder right into the flour dredge. Bouillon powder is packed with MSG, salt, and concentrated chicken flavor, so when it hits the hot oil and forms a crust, it amplifies the savory umami flavor of the whole coating and makes the finished chicken taste like it was seasoned from the inside out even before you take a single bite. Number 33. Soak in buttermilk overnight, not just an hour. Grandma never soaks chicken for a short period when she has time to do it right. She submerges her chicken pieces completely in full-fat buttermilk and leaves them in the refrigerator overnight, sometimes for a full 24 hours. The lactic acid in buttermilk is a gentle tenderizer that works slowly and deeply, and the longer soak means the acidity has time to penetrate every layer of muscle, producing meat that is noticeably more juicy and tender than a quick soak ever achieves. Number 32. Pat the chicken completely dry before seasoning. After pulling the chicken from its soak, Grandma pats every single piece dry with paper towels before doing anything else. A wet surface dilutes the seasoning and prevents it from sticking evenly to the meat, but a dry surface allows the spices to adhere directly and form a paste with any remaining surface moisture, which bonds the coating to the meat far more effectively. Number 31. Season in layers at every step. Grandma seasons at every single stage of the process, not just once. She seasons the raw meat, she seasons the buttermilk soak, she seasons the flour, and sometimes she even hits the fried chicken lightly one more time the moment it comes out of the oil while it is still glistening and hot. Layered seasoning means no single application has to carry all the flavor, and the cumulative effect is chicken that tastes deeply seasoned throughout. Number 30. Use a cast iron skillet, not a deep fryer. Grandma's cast iron skillet is her most prized cooking tool, and she uses it for fried chicken specifically because cast iron holds and distributes heat more evenly than any other pan. Consistent heat means the chicken fries at a steady temperature throughout the cooking process rather than spiking or dropping, which produces a crust that develops evenly without burning on one side while the other stays pale. Number 29. Never crowd the pan. Grandma fries in batches and leaves space between each piece in the cast iron. Crowding the pan drops the oil temperature dramatically, and low-temperature oil means the chicken absorbs fat and becomes greasy rather than crisping up quickly at high heat. By frying in small batches and letting the oil return to temperature between rounds, she ensures every piece gets the same crispy result. Number 28. Use a thermometer for the oil. Even though Grandma often says she knows when the oil is ready by feel or by dropping a pinch of flour in it, she knows the target is around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, the crust sets quickly and the exterior crisps before the interior overcooks, and any lower the chicken will be greasy, any higher the outside will burn before the inside is done. Number 27. Add hot sauce to the buttermilk. Grandma splashes a generous pour of Louisiana hot sauce or crystal hot sauce into her buttermilk soak before the chicken goes in. The hot sauce does not make the finished chicken significantly spicy, but the vinegar in the hot sauce works alongside the buttermilk's lactic acid to tenderize more aggressively, and it adds a subtle heat and tang to the flavor of the meat that people can taste but cannot quite identify. Number 26. Let the chicken come to room temperature before frying. Grandma pulls her chicken out of the refrigerator about 30 minutes before frying. Cold chicken dropped into hot oil dramatically lowers the temperature of the oil, extending cooking time and encouraging uneven cooking where the outside darkens too fast while the cold interior struggles to reach safe temperature. Room temperature. Chicken cooks more evenly and quickly from the start. Number 25. Use both white and black pepper. Grandma is specific about her pepper, and she uses both white pepper and black pepper in her seasoning blend. Black pepper gives a sharp, pungent bite on the surface, while white pepper is hotter and earthier and penetrates deeper into the meat with a lingering warmth. Using both creates a more complex full-spectrum pepper flavor that single pepper seasoning simply cannot deliver. Number 24. Double dredge for extra thick crust. When Grandma wants a particularly thick and craggy crust, she dredges her chicken in flour, dips it back into the egg wash or buttermilk, and then dredges it in the seasoned flour a second time. This double coating creates the thick layered crispy crust that Black grandmothers are known for, with bumpy ridges and deep crunchy pockets that shatter when you bite through them. Number 23. Add a little sugar to the flour. Grandma adds just a tiny pinch of sugar to her flour dredge, not enough to make the chicken taste sweet, but just enough to encourage browning. Sugar caramelizes in hot oil and contributes to the deep, rich mahogany color of a properly fried piece of Grandma's chicken, giving it that beautiful dark golden brown appearance that lets you know before you even taste it that the flavor is going to be serious. Number 22. Fry the dark meat and white meat separately. Grandma knows that chicken thighs and drumsticks take longer to cook than chicken breasts and wings. She fries them in separate batches, timed accordingly so no piece ends up undercooked or overcooked. Dark meat pieces need about 15 minutes total in properly heated oil, while white meat pieces need closer to 12, and cooking them together almost always means one group suffers. Number 21. Keep finished pieces on a wire rack, never paper towels. When Grandma pulls finished chicken from the oil, she sets it on a wire rack set over a baking sheet rather than on paper towels. Paper towels trap steam underneath the chicken and soften the crust within minutes, turning crispy coating into something soggy. A wire rack allows air to circulate all the way around every piece, keeping the bottom crust just as crispy as the top. Number 20. Use garlic powder, not fresh garlic. Grandma uses garlic powder rather than fresh minced garlic in her dredge and seasoning. Fresh garlic contains too much moisture and sugar and will burn quickly in hot frying oil, turning bitter and dark before the chicken is fully cooked. Garlic powder distributes evenly through the flour and seasons throughout cooking without burning, producing that clean, savory garlic flavor in every bite without any bitterness. Number 19. Season the oil. Grandma drops a halved onion or a few slices of raw garlic directly into the oil as it heats up. These aromatics infuse the cooking fat with a subtle, savory depth that gets absorbed into the chicken's crust as it fries. Most people never think to season the cooking oil itself, but Grandma knows that every element of the cooking process is an opportunity to build more flavor. Number 18. Use chicken with the skin on, always. Grandma insists on skin-on chicken pieces because the skin acts as a barrier between the hot oil and the meat, basting the muscle in its own fat as it cooks. The skin also becomes the primary vehicle for crispiness, and removing it before frying results in a crust that is dry and disconnected from the meat rather than the lush, crackling meat-attached crust that makes the chicken worth eating. Number 17. Make a wet batter variant for Sunday dinner. For special Sunday meals, Grandma sometimes switches from a dry dredge to a seasoned wet batter, mixing flour, cornstarch, baking powder, and cold water or a cold club soda into a thick coating. She dips the chicken through. The cold batter hitting the hot oil creates a dramatically crispier, airier shell, and the baking powder creates tiny bubbles in the crust that make it almost tempura-like in its lightness, while still tasting unmistakably like southern fried chicken. Number 16. Use baking powder in the dry dredge too. Even in her standard dry dredge, Grandma adds about a half teaspoon of baking powder per cup of flour. Baking powder is alkaline, and when it hits the hot oil, it releases carbon dioxide bubbles that make the crust puff up slightly and become dramatically crispier and more aerated. This is the secret behind that extra crunchy, bubbly, irregular crust texture that makes you think Grandma did something magical. Number 15. Never skip the MSG. Whether it is in the form of accent seasoning, chicken bouillon, or a small pinch added directly to the seasoning blend, Grandma has always included MSG in her cooking even before she knew what MSG was. MSG amplifies all the other savory flavors around it by stimulating umami receptors on the tongue, making every other spice taste more intense and fully realized. which is why Grandma's chicken tastes more deeply seasoned than chicken made with more spice but no MSG. Number 14. Rest the fried chicken for 5 minutes before serving. Grandma tells everyone to wait 5 minutes before cutting into the chicken after it comes out of the oil. Just like steak, fried chicken needs a brief rest period that allows the juices inside to redistribute through the meat rather than running out the moment the crust is broken. Cutting into hot chicken immediately results in dry meat because all the moisture escapes at once, but rested chicken stays juicy through every bite. Number 13. Use a combination of chicken pieces cut from a whole bird. Grandma prefers to start with a whole chicken and cut it into pieces herself rather than buying pre-cut packages. A whole bird cut into 8 pieces gives you breasts, thighs, drumsticks, and wings that all come from the same bird, meaning they have consistent fat content and freshness. She also gets the backbone and neck for making stock later, which means nothing goes to waste in her kitchen. Number 12. Keep the oil consistent with a thermometer or wooden spoon. If Grandma does not have a thermometer, she knows to dip the end of a wooden spoon into the oil and look for steady, vigorous bubbles forming around the wood. If there are no bubbles, the oil is too cold. If the bubbles are violent and the oil is smoking, it is too hot. Finding that steady, enthusiastic middle ground is the key skill in frying because the oil temperature determines everything about the texture of the finished crust. Number 11. Add cayenne to the flour, but not too much. Grandma adds cayenne pepper to her flour blend with a careful hand, using just enough to create a slow warming heat that builds in the back of the throat after you eat rather than hitting the tongue immediately. The goal is not spicy chicken, but rather chicken that has a depth and liveliness to it, a warmth that makes the flavor feel alive and complex rather than flat. Too much cayenne and you lose all nuance, too little and the chicken tastes like it is missing something. Number 10. Use the drippings for gravy. After frying, Grandma never throws away the oil and drippings left in the cast iron. She carefully strains out the chicken bits, saves some of that golden, seasoned, chicken-infused fat, and uses it to make a pepper gravy or white gravy that goes over rice biscuits or mashed potatoes alongside the fried chicken. The drippings carry all the seasoning and concentrated chicken flavor from the frying process and are arguably more precious than the oil itself. Number 9. Marinate with hot sauce and garlic overnight separately from buttermilk. Sometimes before the buttermilk soak, Grandma does an initial marinade of just hot sauce, garlic powder, onion powder, and a little Worcestershire sauce for a few hours or overnight first. This preliminary marinade penetrates the meat with a savory, tangy base layer before the buttermilk ever touches it, meaning the finished chicken has a more complex, layered flavor profile than a simple buttermilk soak alone can produce. Number 8. Use smoked paprika in the flour blend. Grandma distinguishes between sweet paprika and smoked paprika, and she chooses smoked paprika for her fried chicken flour because it adds a subtle, woody, smoky quality to the crust that reads as depth and complexity. Smoked paprika also contributes to that beautiful, red-tinged golden crust color that makes Grandma's chicken look as extraordinary as it tastes, creating visual appeal that makes everyone at the table reach for a piece immediately. Number 7. Maintain the oil temperature after each batch. Between frying batches, Grandma always allows the oil to come back up to full temperature before adding the next group of chicken pieces. She knows that oil temperature drops with every batch, and if she adds the next round too soon, the oil is running cool, meaning the first few minutes of frying happen at too low a temperature and the chicken absorbs more fat and becomes greasy. Patience between batches is what separates consistent, crispy results from inconsistent, oily ones. Number 6. Use seasoned salt from 2 different brands. Big Mama's open secret is that she blends 2 different seasoned salt brands together, often Lori's and Cajun's Choice or Season All, because each brand has a slightly different herb and spice profile. Combining them creates a more complex layered flavor than any single brand produces alone, and this is the kind of subtle kitchen wisdom that gets passed down at the stove rather than from a cookbook. Number 5. Finish the chicken in the oven if needed. If Grandma is cooking a large batch and needs to hold some pieces at temperature while the rest fries, She slides her finished pieces into a 250-degree oven on a wire rack set over a baking sheet. The low oven keeps them hot and safe without continuing to cook them, and the dry oven air actually continues to crisp the exterior slowly rather than letting it soften, meaning the first piece served and the last piece served are both equally crispy and hot. Number 4. Add dried thyme to the flour. Grandma adds a generous pinch of dried thyme to her flour blend, and this is one of those ingredients that most people would never guess is in there, but that makes a real difference. Thyme has a slightly floral, earthy quality that works beautifully with poultry and adds an herbal note to the crust that elevates the overall flavor profile, making it taste more sophisticated and complex without anyone being able to put their finger on exactly what that extra something is. Number 3. Fry at medium-high heat and turn only once. Grandma is deliberate about her turning and she flips each piece of chicken exactly once during frying. She lays the chicken in the oil and lets it develop a deep, secure crust on the first side for about 7 minutes, then turns it once and finishes on the second side. Flipping repeatedly prevents a proper crust from forming because each flip interrupts the browning process before the Maillard reaction can complete, resulting in a pale, thin, fragmented crust instead of the thick, dark, continuous one she builds with a single turn. Number 2. Always taste the seasoning blend before using it. Before Grandma ever puts her chicken in the flour, she pinches a little bit of the seasoned flour and touches it to her tongue. She is checking salt level and seasoning balance, and she adjusts right there on the spot. She knows that flour dulls seasoning somewhat, so the blend needs to taste slightly more intense in raw form than you ultimately want the finished product to taste. And this moment of deliberate tasting is what separates seasoned cooks from cooks who season. Number 1. Trust your hands more than any recipe. The most important hack that every black grandma would give you is to stop measuring and start feeling. Grandma knows when the seasoning is right by how it looks on the chicken. She knows when the oil is ready by how it sounds when she drops in a piece. And she knows when the chicken is done by the color of the crust and the way the drumstick moves in the joint when she picks it up. This intuitive cooking knowledge is built only through repetition, and it is the single thing that no written recipe can ever truly give you, which is exactly why Grandma's chicken will always taste better than anything you follow step by step from a card. If your grandma's fried chicken made you close your eyes when you took that first bite, share this with someone who needs to keep her legacy alive.